Would you believe, Russell Wilson a playoff quarterback next season?
I do. If in the right situation, you talk about like the Pittsburgh Steelers, absolutely. I think that, listen, Russell Wilson wasn't bad last year, especially when you talk about, his play-action pass. He was one of the top play-action pass quarterbacks in the league this past year. So in the right situation, absolutely.
So here's the conversation I want to have about Russell Wilson. And Dan, you made the point repeatedly this season. You thought he was playing much better than the general public, I think, thought he was playing. And a lot of his being benched came down to injury guarantees and all the rest of that. Let's put all that aside for a moment. Russell Wilson, it has become very fashionable to knock him, and that you don't get that here. This is not meant to be a knock. This man, regardless of what he does this coming year, meaning even if he doesn't play, he's going to get paid $39 million. He will have made $300 million in his career. He's a person who can do almost anything he wants with his life as soon as his football career ends. His option might very well be to go play someplace without any guarantee of playing, without any guarantee of starting, to go fight for a job somewhere and be getting paid, basically a minimal amount of money. Yeah. I don't know that every person facing that decision would say, I'm not just going to walk off into the sunset and say I've had an unbelievable career. I don't think that is you're outside the realm of possibility.
For Russell to walk away?
And just to be like, look.
0% chance.
He goes and plays next year.
Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
The likelihood that he does not play next year.
So let's say he gets released by Denver, which we think he will.
And he takes his $39 million and doesn't play?
Well, I mean, so his option is then going to be probably to get signed by Pittsburgh, Atlanta, you name the team, for some very minimal amount of money and compete for a starting job. Is that what you expect that to be?
100%.
A player of his stature at this stage of his life?
He's got as much fake belief in a good way that anybody that we have in the NFL. Russell Wilson doesn't believe in failure. Russell Wilson doesn't believe in not an accomplishment. Russell Wilson believes in himself. He believes he can do anything. He's got that power of belief, and it's worked out for him for, in many ways, what was trending to be a Hall of Fame career. It has not, led to that trajectory of the last few years. Russell Wilson was a top 10 quarterback performance-wise for most of the season last year with a rookie as his number one wideout. He went stretches without Jerry Jeudy. He went stretches without Courtland Sutton. He went stretches without Greg Dulcich. And so for a guy that I get lost in the Russell Wilson kind of stuff, because for a player that was a very good player for a long time, and in the midst of a very unique situation was a top 10, top 12, top 8, however you want to phrase it, quarterback you could win a lot of games with performance last year without a ton of help around him, and we think that he's going to be out of the NFL? We think he should be out of the NFL? Dude, the Pittsburgh Steelers would be 11-win team with Russell Wilson. The Atlanta Falcons would be an 11-win team with Russell Wilson. So I think it's way more likely that Russell goes and plays good football somewhere than he does not play anywhere.
Field Yates, get in on this.
I would be surprised if Russell Wilson is out of the league now. I mean, I would be stunned, to be clear, if Russell Wilson were not on an NFL roster this upcoming season, Greeny. And I would say this is a couple weeks from now, after the first wave of free agency has run its course, we might have a much better view of what Russell Wilson's future looks like. Not just because he will be released by the Denver Broncos, but also because we've all tried to find a scenario in which we can place Justin Fields with pretty much every quarterback-needy team that is not picking in the top 3, right? Because we all think those first 3 picks will be quarterbacks. He can only go to one team, though, and there are just not that many available veteran quarterback options that teams are going to view as capable starters, especially if Baker Mayfield returns to the Buccaneers and Kirk Cousins goes back to the Vikings. Teams like the Raiders, teams like the Steelers, teams like the Falcons. The Broncos, obviously not for Russell Wilson, but they're also going to be hunting to these very few quarterback options available that I think Russ will end up becoming a starter next year. And I think that sometimes when I'm evaluating quarterbacks, part of my process, at least, Greeny, is the quarterback doing what the coach is asking him to do at a high level? And while I don't think Russell Wilson had a bunch of games in which he put the Denver Broncos on his back last year, that was never the directive from Sean Payton. He said very clearly, we want to be a team that values the football. We do not want to beat ourselves ever, because once they got that defense back on track, They played ground control football. It wasn't a very efficient running game, but they ran the crap out of the ball, at least in terms of frequency, and they were just good enough in the passing game to win. So I think Russ remains one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL, clearly, and will be a starter. It just may be that he has an option that is not viewed right now as that team's preferred choice. I don't know that Russell Wilson is target 1A for a team at this very moment.
I think we're all saying the same thing. I do not want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying as criticism of Russell Wilson. What I'm saying is he's going to have to show he really wants to do this badly, because I don't think he's going to be in a situation where someone brings him in, big press conference, here's our starting quarterback, we're building our offense around you. He may be competing with Kenny Pickett or Desmond Ritter or wherever it is he winds up going.
Russ.
Yeah, probably.
I don't believe that Russell Wilson is going to sit back and let what has transpired over the last 2 seasons be the end of the story. I agree with Babyface. I would be absolutely stunned if Russell Wilson was not only in the NFL, I would expect him to be starting.
I hope you're right. If you were the New York Football Giants, would you rather stick with Daniel Jones or draft a quarterback at 6?
I'm drafting a quarterback. And the reason I'm drafting a quarterback, because I don't trust Daniel Jones. He's obviously coming off the ACL injury. And quite frankly, he hasn't proven to me or most people that he's a franchise guy. Get a quarterback, let him sit behind Daniel Jones, and let's go from there.
Let me jump in on this one if I can. And Dan and Kimberley Martin, I will bounce my idea off you, because as I've said many times, mine is that rare genius that will not be fully appreciated till long after my time. What the New York Giants should do is the Giants, should trade up to 3. D. Wood just said the Patriots sitting at 3, they need picks, they need things. Giants have an extra second-round pick this year. Go up there, draft Drake May at 3, and don't play him immediately. Play Daniel Jones. You really only have to pay Daniel Jones for 1 more year, and then you've got decisions to make. Let's see what happens. If Daniel Jones plays great, you have a delightful problem on your hands. If he doesn't, you move on scot-free, and you've got Brian Daboll, who basically built the monster that is Josh Allen, coaching up young Drake May, who has a lot of the same traits. What do you think?
The Giants should absolutely be planning for life post Daniel Jones in regards to both his ability to play and his availability. He's missed a ton of games over the last 4 or 5 seasons because of injury, and he's taken a ton of hits. And we talk about, I remember having the conversation, and I was somebody a little blind to it in regards to Lamar and the hits that he was going to take, and as a running quarterback. Daniel Jones has taken just as many hits as Lamar did early on in his football career, and those have added up. And his play hasn't warranted that total confidence for the future. So I would love that. I don't think Drake May is going to be there at 6, but I would love that.
That's my point. The Giants trade up to 3.
But here's the problem, Greeny. Then you're taking a roster that wasn't as good as the first year that Brian Daboll made it into that playoff contending team and weakening it for both the now and the future. I don't look at them all that different than New England. The Giants have too many issues and holes to sit there and say, hey, let's go jump our quarterback. Let's go jump to go get a quarterback. If he fell to them, absolutely run to the podium. But the Giants have too many holes both on their offensive line, and they still need to upgrade the perimeter talent rather than going and making a move for a quarterback.
Now, Lewis said they should take a receiver. The offensive line drives me crazy because, how many times can you take a lineman in the top 10 and your offensive line keeps getting worse? I don't understand how that's possible. Kimberley Martin, talk to me. How about the trade buzz that you are hearing around, the top 3 picks, particularly number 3?
Listen, it's not just the Giants that are going to be thinking about trying to move up and maneuvering around the board. Greeny, I love your genius. I love you. I love the way you think. It makes sense for the Giants. My only question is, what are the Patriots doing at quarterback? So that's my only pushback. Also, Joe Shane, their GM, spoke to the media this week. And, listening to him, he said all the right things, but my conversations with people, everybody wonders, what are the Giants going to do? It doesn't seem like they have a clear plan to make this season better than what we just saw. Obviously, the Saquon question, the Daniel Jones question, they have got to upgrade the quarterback position. And here's what I will always say. If you are a GM and you are convicted in a QB, by all means, go after him. Don't reach, but do what you can to get the guy that you want. But you don't just want to have to take a quarterback because you need it. You need to have somebody that you want to build with, and you're going to have Daniel Jones. You might, this season, for a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of questions in New York for the Giants. a lot of questions.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, when you hear the expression, life comes at you fast, there's never been a better illustration of that. A year ago, Daniel Jones got paid the big money, and Brian Daboll was the coach of the year. A year later, we're looking at life beyond Daniel Jones, and Brian Daboll seems to be on the hot seat from everything that you hear.
Brian Daboll's on the hot seat for everything that you hear. Does taking a quarterback at 6 change that? No. Because they're going to have to win.
But if he's developing a good young
I think that's a little bit of a fallacy.
Isn't that what he does well, though?
Yes, no question. Daboll's a fantastic coach, but there's this fallacy, I feel, of everybody says, well, the best way to save your job is to take a young quarterback and show promise. We see guys get fired all the time in that regard. You got to go win, no matter if your quarterback is 35 or he's 25. So I think that the Giants have to focus on, at the number 6 pick, what player is going to help them win right now more than who can we develop for the future.
Brian Daboll needs to win this year, or otherwise there's a 71-year-old quarterback that was a former Giants legend. That's basically going to take this year off.
With the initials BB?
Yes.
I think that is the one place that the specter of Belichick could be hanging out. By the way,